June morning in Southern California.
Birds were chirping, the sun was shining.
And somewhere on a quiet residential street, a sink was clogging.
The couple experiencing the clog,
Mr. and Mrs. JP,
did something they had never done before. They called the Smell Good plumbers at Mike Diamond. I'm Mike Diamond. I guarantee my plumbers will show up on time and unclog your sink for $99.
A technician promptly unclogged the sink.
A few months later, a much more intensive problem turned up in the bathroom.
Mr. JP called Mike Diamond again. They worked up a plan and the repair was made.
Mr. and Mrs. JP felt good enough about the experience to sit down and write us an email.
They commended the Smell Good plumbers on their service and closed by saying they would use Mike Diamond on future services and recommend them to anyone in need of plumbing repairs.
We love Mr. and Mrs. JP, and we'd love for you to read their testimonial and more before calling your next plumber. The address is MikeDiamond.com, or just call us at 1-800-446-MIKE. Contractor's license number 399170.
Whether it's happening worldwide or in Southern California, the 24-hour KFI newsroom is on it.
How about somebody speak for the normal people? How about somebody tell the truth? Normal people don't want mental patients, drug addicts, and pedophiles sleeping in cars in front of their kids' schools. Why can't anyone say that out loud?
John and Ken, weekdays 2 to 6 on KFI.
That's the only thing I ever win, is guessing at the spread. If I would have betted, lost. You know, they say at the racetrack, when Conway has money on a horse, the flag is up, you lose.
The Tim Conway Jr. Show, weeknights at 6 on KFI. It's share and tell. Share and tell.
I love it.
Like, you know, like share with everybody.
I got it.
How about share and tell you? The Tim Conway Jr. Show.
Oh, that I like.
Weeknights at 6 on KFI.
You voted for all this, and now what, you're going to move to a state where there's far less of these progressive whack jobs and say, wow, life is better here. None of this bad stuff happens by accident. It happens because of choices we make.
John and Ken.
It's our fault.
Weekdays 2 to 6 on KFI. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk. KFI AM 640.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County. Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Dirty Officer. I'm Andrew Carabella from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A former TSA officer at LAX has pleaded guilty to smuggling what he thought was meth through the airport. Investigators say the man was arrested in 2020 after a sting operation. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jeremiah Levine says during the operation, Michael Williams picked up fake drugs from an informant.
Mr. Williams went to the airport, showed his credentials to airport security so that he wouldn't be searched, and thereby smuggled the fake methamphetamine past airport security into the secure part of the airport.
The officer faces up to 20 years in prison when he's sentenced in November. Southern California is on track for a busy travel season this summer.
Experts say demand for hotel rooms in LA, Orange, and San Diego counties will reach pre-pandemic levels. Visit California President Carolyn Batetis says SoCal is faring well in part because the pandemic has many people traveling in state.
Californians are actually rediscovering the world-class appeal of their home state. So I see this as a trend that is not going to wane in the near future.
Batetis says last year in-state travel spending was up 22%. Blake Trolley, KFI News.
Inflation is at a 4-decade high. It went up 8.6% last month over a year earlier, higher than expected. ABC's Alexis Christoforous says that people's paychecks are not keeping up with inflation.
When you account for inflation, wages are actually down 3% since this time last year. And I actually spoke with an economist earlier who said, our purchasing power has just become less and less.
Prices are up for basics, food, gas, rent, energy costs, and some fun stuff too, like cars and plane tickets. And do optimists live longer? Of course.
A study from the American Geriatric Society suggested people who generally expect positive future outcomes have a higher chance of living past 90. The study of almost 160,000 women of different races and backgrounds has been done over almost 90 years. The study showed healthy lifestyles that include good diet, exercise, body mass index, smoking, and alcohol consumption are a factor, but a larger indicator of living longer is being optimistic. It found optimists lived about 4 years longer than their less positive thinking counterparts on average. Amy King, KFI News.
Southland weather from KFI. The weekend will see lots of thick fog in the morning. Once that burns off, it'll be sunny with highs in the mid-70s to 80s at the beaches, Metro LAOC in the valleys, high 90s to around 100 in the IE, lows in the 50s to around 60. Right now, Diamond Bar 66, Santa Monica 63, Santa Ana 64, and in Mission Viejo 61 degrees. We lead local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Andrew Caravella.
Crashing County on the westbound side of the 105 just past Lakewood Boulevard has all lanes stopped. Watch for a jammed up drive as you approach Lakewood Boulevard. In West Covina, westbound side of the 10 Vincent to Pacific, it's all lanes closed by Caltex till around 5 o'clock this morning. Delays there back almost to Azusa Avenue. And Costa Mesa, all lanes shut down on the 405 southbound Harbor to Bristol until around 6 a.m. Northbound side of the 405 shut down Brookhurst to Warner until around 7 o'clock this morning. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. Robert Tabucky.
As parents, we've done everything possible to protect our kids from COVID-19, from using hand sanitizers to masking up. But now we have the most important tool, vaccines. They help protect our children and the entire family. And it's okay to have questions. Ask your doctor about the COVID-19 vaccine for your child, or visit vaccinateall58.com to learn more and find a vaccine near you. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
The podcast Deliver Us from Ervil reveals the dark story of Ervil the Baron and the reporters, cops, and insiders who tried to take down his vicious, organized crime family.
When I arrived in that town, I expected to find it under siege, people living in fear. But instead, I found something more interesting than that crime I had originally been sent to cover.
Listen to Deliver Us from Ervil on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Search, browse, and email privately, all for free with the DuckDuckGo app.
Our windows have a story to tell. Shouldn't yours?
My name's Mike Jackson. Elias Ariola. What sets American Vision Windows apart is their investment in their employees.
The Bill and Kathleen way is investing in you, and it's contagious.
They are always putting back in the company, and that's why this company is where it's at today.
American Vision Windows continues to revolutionize the home improvement industry, one customer at a time, while changing the lives of our employees for the better.
Happy employees, happy customers.
My old windows heated it up like a brick oven, and now it's completely climate controlled. Can you tell I love these guys? See the difference that new windows can make in your home.
For a limited time, American Vision Windows offers a whole house of windows for $99 a month or free expert installation. Call 888-226-9908.
Catch the vision, American Vision Windows.
For all offers, call or see website for details. Offer expires 6/30/2022. CSLB number 778326.
Attention foot pain sufferers. If you have pain, burning, or numbness in your feet or legs, you may have neuropathy. Neuropathy is caused by damage to nerves, and it impacts the lives of millions of Americans. If you are suffering from neuropathy and have been prescribed a medication like Lyrica, gabapentin, or Cymbalta, there is an alternative. Highly trained doctors are using a cutting-edge treatment to slow and often reverse the disease without addictive medications. If you are tired of living with foot pain, then call Elite Medical Group at 833-4-GO-FEET. That's 833-4-GO-FEET. There is no surgery or prescription drugs. Don't wait to get relief. Call 833-4-GO-FEET. The first 25 callers will receive a full exam and in-depth consultation absolutely free.
KFI, AM 640, more stimulating talk.
When we can take our time, I remember what Mama told me all those years ago. And make that drive to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm hearing it coming. You know it keeps coming. Oh, Mexico, with the magic in your eyes. With the sound in the morning, the birds are buzzing. That's alright, baby, hold on tight.
To talk to Richard Serifs, call the wildcard line at 818-501-4109. The first-time caller line is
800-501-4721. To talk to Richard from east of the Rockies, call 800-825-5033. From west of the Rockies, toll free, call 800-618-8255. This is Coast to Coast AM with your guest host, Richard Serif.
Welcome back. Sitting in for George Norrie. Say hello on Twitter at Richard Serret and the website strangeplanet.ca. A new one from the Doobie Brothers, Oh Mexico, from their new album Liberté. And they are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. So as we head on into open lines, I thought it might be kind of cool to springboard off my previous discussion with Charles Lear about the golden age of flying saucers and keep that conversation going. In particular, there are a number of cases in the flying saucer investigators involving the discovery of trace evidence after a sighting or the crash of a fiery object. And I'm hoping to hear from callers who believe they have in their possession trace evidence of an unidentified aerial phenomena, or a UFO, or a flying saucer, if you prefer. That's just one conversation starter. Just about anything goes, but of course, as always, we'll keep it a political free zone and no COVID. All right, we begin. Open lines, your calls, next, right here on Coast to Coast AM.
If you're looking for natural products to pamper your body, look no further than Dr. Squatch. They're changing the shower game with amazing products of deodorants, conditioners, shampoos, and so many other things. All products are at least 98% natural in origin, and they're the finest ingredients Mother Nature has to offer. And you can recognize and pronounce everything you see on the packaging, unlike the harsh chemicals found in the generic body washes, hair care, and other deodorants. Dr. Squatch has a 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you use Dr. Squatch and can honestly say their products are not the best you've ever used, they'll send you your money back, no questions asked. Shop at drsquatch.com, where new customers will receive 20% off, $20 or more you spend. Enter promo code COAST. That's drsquatch.com, promo code COAST. Let me spell it out for you. drsquatch.com, promo code COAST.
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Elizabeth Warren, they're all attacking America's tech innovators. The left's bill, S-2992, would take away the digital tools small businesses rely on, empower China to beat America in the race for new technologies, and increase the risk of cyber attacks. When liberals attack America's tech innovators, they're really attacking everyday Americans and Main Street businesses. American jobs, America's security, and the online privacy of the American people are all on the line. Why would Senate conservatives support this liberal agenda that threatens American innovation? We need to stop Pelosi, Schumer, Warren, and the rest of the D.C. liberals from taking away our technology and making China stronger at America's expense. Call the U.S. Senate today at 202-224-3121. Tell Senate Republicans to oppose S-2992. ProtectingTaxpayers.org, paid for and authorized by Taxpayers Protection Alliance.
And away we go with open lines on a Friday night, Saturday morning on Coast to Coast AM. And we begin with Jason, east of the Rockies in Dubuque, Iowa. Jason, good morning. Welcome to Coast.
Yes, I don't know, this is a short ghost story. I don't know if some people might think a lot of it, some people won't. But I saw about 10 years ago on the TV, I was watching, listening to a show, and those shipyards out in Southern California, they have a lot of like Long Beach, San Pedro, they have a lot of ships out there.
Right.
And one of the ships was a World War II ship, and the guy was, you know how those ships gather dust, and they have to go up and clean them up, and dust them up. Anyway, one guy went up there to one of the World War II ships, and he did his stuff up there, and he cleaned them everything up, and he got to the top of to the level, and he cleaned the last room up, and those portholes have curtains, and he left all those curtains open. He cleaned them up, left the portholes open with the curtains, and he left. He went down the stairs to the pier. He locked the door, and right as soon as he got down to the pier, down the stairs to the pier, he heard a noise, and he looked back, and the last room he was cleaning up at, there came a hand and closed those curtains. Right. Now, is that a ghost or what?
Could be. Could be. What do you think?
I say that scared the hell out of me.
That would certainly. If it's a ghost or it's not a ghost, it's I'm running in the opposite direction. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of paranormal activity on board these old vessels, and well, there have been volumes written about this. Volumes. Jason, thank you for the call. Great way to kick off our open lines. Let's go wild card line. Brad is in New Orleans. Hey, Brad, welcome to Coast.
Hey, Richard. Hey, I just wanted to say that in 1984, I was a nuclear missile site security officer for the Pershing II missiles in Schwäbisch Gmünd, Germany.
Yes.
And yeah, you were right on line with your previous speaker about UFOs and nuclear missiles, because we recovered an alien spacecraft. I have top secret clearance. Probably won't have it after talking to you, but in 1984 they actually recovered one. I was told we're clear. We had 3 bunkers at Schwäbisch Gmünd. It was at the airfield there. And we had 3 bunkers we had nuclear warheads in. I was told to clear one of the bunkers. And several trucks with parts, if you can call it that, were brought in. I was the only one that was authorized to open and close the bunkers, seal them. But they were definitely, they said it was Russian writing on the hieroglyphics, but I speak fluent Russian, so I knew it wasn't Russian. But I did pick up one piece, and it was white as aluminum, but it was very strong tensile strength. And
right.
I think you're right on. I think people or aliens have been here, and I think the nuclear arsenal that we have has been of interest of them since the 40s.
So, do you believe that this craft crashed on this nuclear base in Germany?
It crashed in proximity to that. We have what they used to call an exclusionary zone, where aircraft couldn't fly, and we had anti-aircraft weaponry, and we were told that if anything came in there, we scrambled to the bunkers and so on and so forth. And about a day prior to these vehicles pulling up, we called in an unidentified aircraft. I called it in the brigade headquarters that we had an aircraft in restricted airspace, and I think they scrambled aircraft. And then the next day, that's when I think they shot the damn thing down. And that's when all these trucks showed up, these 3 or 4 trucks. I don't remember if it was 3 or 4. But
and what were you instructed what were you told to keep quiet after that?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I had a non-disclosure agreement. I had a top secret. I still have a top secret FBI clearance, and it was definitely all the crates were labeled MAJIK12.
Right, MJ12. Right.
This was in 1984.
How about the bodies? What about the bodies, Brad? Were there any bodies?
No, sir. I did not see any bodies. All I saw was they tried to tell me it was a Russian aircraft and the hieroglyphics on the parts, because it was they said it was Russian and it was not Russian. I speak Russian. I know Cyrillic, and it was not Cyrillic writing. That's kind of what got me talking. I was talking to my executive officer. He was the only other one that had the clearances to go. But I just wanted to get it off my chest.
Well, I appreciate that, Brad. Thank you. Has anyone else in your outfit ever spoken about this?
I doubt it seriously. Like I said, it was in the height of the Cold War. It was 1984. It was with the Pershing II missile systems in Germany. And we had just deployed the Pershing II. We replaced the Pershing 1A. And I know there was a lot of activity, not only there, but a friend of mine, another officer, Air Force officer, was a friend, said there was activity at his base in England, because they had the cruise missiles, nuclear-tipped cruise missiles. And they had similar incidents. But I'm a firm believer ever since that point. And I've only discussed this once, and that was with my wife. So I'm right now, so I'm on the way out. But
I'm honored that you would share that with me and our audience, Brad. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service, and thank you for sharing this incredible story.
You're right. You're right with the alien aircraft or unidentified aircraft with nuclear. Their interest in our nuclear capabilities.
Yeah, one thing has always puzzled me, and we hear about UAPs turning off nuclear missiles and so forth. Where were they when the big ones were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima? Where were the UFOs then? I've always wondered that. Thank you again for the call.
I know from history that the bomber wing that dropped the nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I think they were based, that bomber wing was based near the Roswell incident, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. That makes sense. Brad, thank you again for the call. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Vincent. Have a good evening.
You too. Wild card line, Mary is in the Garden State, New Jersey. Hello, Mary. Welcome.
Something different. I want to talk about the name George. I try to go really fast as far as the Bible, as far as history and mythology. So when I was little, not over the year 4, I used to do this. Like, my father's name is George, so I'm thinking, oh, G, that means God, and G-E means Genesis, and G-E means Garden of Eden. And then it has that O-R in the middle. So it's like the Old Testament or the New Testament, G-E. As Christ says, I make all things new. And if you're born again, you become a new creation in Christ, right? That's the Bible part of it. And I go through history where King George III, he's the old, or George Washington, he's the new, right? So then I called the library and I said, tell me the oldest Greek besides George. So they look back in Greek mythology, right? And I never knew this name was there, but there was a Georgios, God, Georgios, and it's in and around the time of Zeus. So that's way back in BC, right? So he said the way they spell the name, the first part of it means farmer. I said, that sounds like the Old Testament again. God made everything, he made the garden, And the last part of it means work. Sounds like the New Testament. Christ did all the work. So even back then, that name, sounds like the Bible, but it was a Greek god in mythology. Did you ever hear that name?
No, not in Greek mythology I hadn't.
I never heard it either. Georgia, I heard like Zeus.
Right.
Interested if anybody knew any more about like Greek mythology or how far back, in languages would that name go? How far back would that really go?
Well, I'm living in a Greek household, so I'll try to get to the bottom of that. But it's it's fascinating what you've done with that name. There's a name expert who comes on Coast. I've had her on my program as well, Mariana Korwitz. She talks about the power and the energy of names. So next time she's on Coast, you should definitely call in and talk to her about
I'd be allowed to talk about that again.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would.
Oh, do you know when she's coming on?
I don't. She's been on fairly recently, but I'm sure there'll be another name expert. It's a fascinating field. I love it. I could listen to that kind of stuff all night.
I was little. I had nothing else to do, so pick the name apart. So yeah, it's interesting. But I'd like to know much more about like Moses himself. That's an Egyptian name.
Yes, it is. Yes. You should see what you can do with my name, Mary. Richard, and we'll talk again. There's your homework assignment. Richard.
Richard, back to England.
There you go. All right, Mary, thank you. You have a great evening. Let's see where we'll go next is Andrea is in Grafton, Wisconsin. Hello, Andrea. Welcome to Coast.
Hello, thank you. I calling in about black holes and tying into what your last caller spoke about with the nuclear bombs and UFO sightings.
Right.
Okay, so this is really ironic that he said this because I had heard of that, but I was joking because I'm like really into black holes and time traveling. And so I said, well, I came from, the Cloud Nebula, and I meant to go to the Kashmir Valley, Shangri-La Circus